Greetings, good afternoon, guys. How are you doing? Please give me a shout out if you can hear everything okay. And yeah, I mean, if you enjoy today's video, I always appreciate it if you hit that like button. It's very much appreciated. Hello, Matt. Hello, Adam. Big U, Stu, Martin, Camille, Zachary. Nice to see a bunch of you guys here already. Hope you're having a good weekend. I, as always, have 4 army lists to look at today. And thanks, Mark. I guess things coming up on the channel this week are the tier list for the HQs. So that's kind of a longer video again. You guys love the tier list videos, so the next one is going to be released this week, so keep an eye out on that. And yeah, today is 1 year since we launched this channel, so yeah, it feels kind of crazy. I was actually thinking about this document here that's got, how many, does it go all the way back? I maybe started this document the 8th of November last year. So the thing is, before the 8th of November last year, I don't know if I got many army list submissions. I know that on the initial weeks of this show, there was a couple of weeks where we had like one list and that was it. But I guess as we've grown a little bit bigger, more people have decided to jump in. Thank you very much, Adam. Yeah, it's been a cool year. Hopefully this next year we'll see some better improvements to Blood Angels. And yeah, I mean, maybe there'll be a Warzone book or something that gives us a little bit of love. And maybe we can finally get some Primaris Jump Pack infantry. That seems to be the most hotly wanted thing within the community right now. So yeah, maybe we get that eventually. Right. Anyway, Maverick, Slim Hogan, Pedroig, thank you guys all. I mean, thank you for the support over this year. It's been kind of crazy. It's been fun though, and hopefully here's to many more years, assuming we were talking a lot about it live last night. Assuming we don't get shut down for whatever reason. I really hope that doesn't happen, but yeah. Hey Mark, how you doing? Okay, so today's lists. Today's lists are. Let me bring up the folder. Lists. Hondo 77, Slim Hogan. Oh, cool. Slim Hogan's in the chat. I always like it when you guys hang out in the chat when we go over your list. Makes things a little bit more back and forth, I guess. Emmanuel and then Gitley. So I guess we'll start. You want to start with your Slim Hogan since you're in the chat? I haven't seen Hondo say anything, so why don't we start there? We'll go out of order this week. Good day, John. Are you from Australia then? I don't know many people that start sentences with a good day, but I feel like it's Australia or New Zealand maybe, right? I've recently got back into the hobby after 20 years, and your videos have been really insightful. As I get my feet wet into the world of 40k once again, I was hoping to get a list reviewed to see if I'm on the right track for something that's decently competitive and potentially some help with what stratagems and relics to take. Thanks, mate. It's 1 AM here. Okay, Australia. Okay, wow. Okay, good. I'm glad that we decided to do yours first then. Thank you for sticking up till 1 AM. That's dedication for you. Appreciate that. Alright, so it's 2 patrol detachments, which is going to cost 4 CP, and we're in at 996 points. We have Captain on the Bike, who is a Chapter Master in Thunderhammer, coming in at 160. We have the Chaplain on the Bike. This will be the Primaris Chaplain. I'll just write that down so that anyone knows. And he's going to be the Master of Sanctity, and he's going to come in at 140. We then have the Sangri Priest with the Jump Pack, and Chief Apothecary coming in at 155. Makes sense. There's definitely some relics that we can put on these guys. Let me look through the whole list, and then we'll talk about relics and stuff here. 2 squads of Infiltrators, and I love Infiltrators. I think they're one of the greatest units if you want to defensively put them on objectives and not have to worry about them. I think they're a great unit for that. The deep strike denial can be very, very good as well. Obviously, against some armies that have no deep strike, it's not so great, but I think the 15 points or so you spend on the deep strike denial can definitely have a lot of value in it. I end up moving an Infernal Pistol from the Death Company to the Captain. Okay, +5 for the Infernal Pistol. Let's see what we've got then. We've then got 7 Death Company Marines, Jump Packs, 2 Hammers, 2 Infernal Pistols. Yeah, I would probably say that 2 Hammers and 1 Infernal Pistol is fine. Pedroy, you should get you halfway to the new Death Company Dread, which will magnetize and start with dual fists that you need. Oh wow, dude, thank you so much. I don't know why my alert didn't come up. Maybe I need to figure out that. But thank you so much for the $25. Maybe it's going to come up in a second. I don't know. Streamlabs has been a little funny as of late. Because I think last night when I was streaming, there we go. All right. Thank you so much for the 25. That's super appreciated. And I will actually spend it on a Death Company Dread. Yeah, it's next on my list to buy. So thank you for that. Okay. 7 Death Company Marines, Sons of Rolo, thank you for following. 7 Death Company Marines, 2 Thunderhammers, and 1 Infernal Pistol. I like it. I mean, I generally think that you want a ratio of like 5 to 2. That's wrong. For every 5 men you have in your Death Company, you want 1 Thunderhammer. So having 7, having 2 hammers seems like a decent ratio. 7's a strange number, right? We talk a lot about Death Company on this channel, and we say if you want to do Forlong Fury, then if you want to Forlong Fury a Death Company, we kind of feel like you need to go for the full 10 man. If you don't want to Forlong Fury, well, maybe that's the wrong way of putting it. If you want to go for a turn 1 charge, you probably want to go for the 10 man. Like if you want to Forlong Fury and then do the turn 1 charge, maybe you want to go for the 10 man. We've been having a lot of discussion on that. I mean, I've been running 5-man Death Company as a smaller unit to come in on the backfield. So 7, to me, it feels like it's an okay choice. It feels like maybe there's, there could be situations where you could Forlong Fury in turn 1 and definitely end up doing like a good amount of damage. It's quite situational though. Like I wouldn't go into the game thinking I need to Forlong Fury this Death Company. I would look at the opponent, I would work out if there's a position to either deep strike it or start it on the board. Sometimes you can actually start the Death Company on the front line, and the threat of Forlong Fury can be enough to make the enemy deploy a little bit more defensively. And the one thing that you can say about this is you can play upon Wings of Fire on the Death Company, right? Pull them off the board. And, in turn, even if you go first, you could just upon Wings of Fire them straight away and bring them down as a deep strike in turn 2. So, 7, yeah, it's difficult, right? Because, it's a lot of points to take that 10-man Death Company, and in some matchups, the 10-man Death Company will not be effective for a turn 1 charge. It depends on who you're up against. Do they have any janky rules that can make you fight last? That sort of thing. So 7 is fine. I would definitely just keep your options open when you think about this Death Company, though, right? And yeah, it is 2 CP for 6+. So I would go into the game thinking about maybe I can start the Death Company on the board as a threat, or maybe I can deep strike them. Both are probably legitimate ideas. Just I wouldn't go into the board going, I am going to Forlong Fury these every game. Hey Jeff, thanks for tuning in. Hey Benjamin, nice to see you. I was going to disagree with you, but you're going into depth on why you might want to Forlong a 5-man Death Company squad. Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, right? Because I had been considering taking a 10-man Death Company myself because I haven't run it for a while, and I've all the cards on the table. I've been struggling against Sisters now. I think I've lost 4 games in a row against the new Sisters Codex. So I was thinking, would a 10-man Death Company be here? Would it be really good here? But the Sisters player I am playing has Morgan Val with a Fight Last character hanging out right next to her with 20 odd Sacrosancts who can also heroically intervene. And it's just in that case, I guess even though you've got the ability to do the Forlong Fury, you probably can't use it to kill the unit you want to kill, right? So you have to think about it very strategically. Hey, Anthony, I hope you're having a good day too. I'm having a great day. I mean, I was having an okay day until I got on stream, and then Pedroig has just made I'm going to be getting a Death Company Dreadnought soon. So, Cool. We then have 4 Sangri Guards with swords, axes, and 2 Infernal Pistols. I think you probably only need 1 Infernal Pistol in the Sangri Guard squad. I've been running 1 Infernal Pistol in my 8-man Sangri Guard now for about 6 months, and 90% of the time you do not get to fire your Infernal Pistol, right? 90% of the time you either advance them and you shoot their bolters, and you're not in range for that one guy with Infernal Pistol. Usually Sangri Guard kill everything in combat. If you position them well near your Warlord and make the charge, usually they will kill everything that they need to in combat, especially if you have 8 of them like you do here. So very, very free. It's very infrequently that you get to shoot an Infernal Pistol. So I would say over the course of the games that I've played, I get more value out of the bolters, and the bolters are cheaper. So maybe keep 1 Infernal Pistol in there, but I don't know if you need 2. But that's just how I play Sangri Guard. I really use them as a countercharge unit, which what I mean by countercharge is I try and wait for the enemy to come to me, and then I'll jump over terrain or something, or I'll join some combat and make a very, very small range charge. Axes are getting better than swords at the moment. I think that, for example, I've been playing up against I've been playing up against 16 mortifiers in those sisters lists, and axes will wound the mortifiers on 2s, swords will wound the mortifiers on 3s. So I think overall, as more and more factions now have toughness 5 stuff aplenty, the axes are the better choice, but swords are fine. Like, I don't have anything against swords. I was running 4 and 4 for the last 6 months. It's only in the last few weeks I've moved to 5 and 3 with the favour of axes. I'm reluctant to move any further than that. I think the axes are a little bit better, but the swords are pretty nice if you have a null zone on the table, and my current list does have the null zone. Terminator Assault Squads with Thunderhammers, and then a Redemptor Dreadnought with the Macro, the Onslaught, the 2 Stormbolters, and the Fist. Okay, let me catch up on chat. It's the CP cost that makes me either go 5 or 10 for Forlorn Fury. If Infernal Pistols have 12-inch range, they would be a good take. Yeah. I think that too often I don't get to fire my Infernal Pistol. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. We then have 3 Assault Bolter and Scepters, and I kind of like these guys. And the reason that I kind of like them is when they arrive from Deep Strike, they can shoot, and you can still do a second reaction with them if you pay some CP. I think it's a neat stratagem for sure. It's called, I've used it like one time because I think, is it Uncompromising Fire? Yeah, Uncompromising Fire. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase. Select 1 infantry unit for your army that's performing an action. That unit can shoot this phase without the action failing. Uncompromising Fire. Up here. Let me move this. Uncompromising Fire. So it's a Space Marine 1. 2 CP is kind of expensive, but if you need to bring them in and you need them to shoot and you need to perform an action, then it's pretty clutch, right? This list looks like you're going to start on 8 CP. I guess we're going to spend some of them on relics here in a second, but 8 CP is not bad. And then 3 attack bites with multi-meltas. It's hard to argue with attack bites with multi-meltas. They especially synergize with the Sangri Priest. I think in my meta, my friends have figured out that attack bikes with a priest is actually really strong, and that they either need to overkill the bikes or not target them, which has actually made my bikes feel a little bit weaker. But in general, the bikes are a very, very good choice. And then I think if you have the priest, you really want him within range of the bikes at all times for the 6+ shrug, because they're only toughness 5, they only have a 3+ save, right? They do die to, I was playing against Death Guard and he's just hitting them with Plague Burst Crawlers after Plague Burst Crawlers, and it's asking me to make way too many 5+ saves to keep them alive. And then you've got the Whirlwind, the Castellan Launcher, coming in at 1996 points. So let's talk about this and see what we could do. Definitely going to be magnetizing the sword just for options down the track. Yeah, do you know what? I wish I'd done that. In some ways, I wish I'd done that. In other ways, it's great. I now have, I think, 20-odd Sangri Guard models. Like, I have a whole drawer of Sangri Guard, but it's because I made a bunch of them with, like, power fists and plasma pistols and older weapons that I just don't see as competitive now. I generally just hate plasma pistols, how they kill the bearer. I think they used to do a mortal wound if you rolled a fail. Maybe I'm wrong. With the possibility of the Upon Wings of Fire being used in the Death Company and the Terminators in there, I think Canticle of Hate is sensible as one of the litanies. Yeah, that's a very good choice. Did we get a verdict? Here's a question, right? Let me flick over to this stratagem. Because we were talking about it the other night, and I don't remember if somebody gave us a verdict, right? Commanding Oratory, here it is. Use the stratagem at the start of your command phase. Any of your phases, other than your command phase. Select one Adeptus Astartes chaplain from your army that has not recited a litany this turn. That model can recite one litany that has not already been recited by a friendly model this turn. That litany is automatically expiring, and it takes effect until the start of your next turn. Does the litany from Commanding Oratory need to be one of the litanies that the chaplain knows? Because there was rules as written, it just says that model can recite one litany. Doesn't say it needs to be a litany that he owns. I mean, maybe it's a stretch. I don't know though, because I don't know when we were talking about this, but I don't know if we actually got an answer. Maybe it was on our Mark, you're in the chat. Maybe it was on our HQ tier list video, right? That was probably when we were talking about it. Actually, yeah. And was there a final verdict? Rules as intended, it should work just like Tomb of Malkador. Yeah, so you're basically saying you can recite a litany even if you can recite any litany from that. I would say yes, it does. It's like a librarian power, and the strat for the extra power, it needs to be one you carry. Okay, so maybe rules as intended. That's how it's supposed to work. Rules as written. It's a question mark. But yeah, okay. Rules as written. I would argue that the chaplain does not need to know it. Yeah, we brought it up and we've not got any more of a conclusive answer. Okay, that's what I thought, so we brought this up. Do the abilities that give OBSEC work on Death Company, or does Black Rage cancel that out? That is a very good question. Where's the Black Rage rules? Oh, wrong codex. 1 second. Black Rage. If Black Rage specifically states that it cancels OBSEC, then I would guess it doesn't. Abilities, Black Rage. I don't think so. I mean, you can perform actions as the Black Rage. It doesn't mention anything about OBSEC, so I would assume that if you had Rights of War or something, Death Company can be granted OBSEC. That really doesn't make sense lore-wise, but yeah, I mean, that's how it's written. Okay, all right, Slim Hogan, let's talk then. So, Captain on the Bike. Gift of Foresight is so good on this guy. I love it. It keeps him alive every single battle I play in. I would 100% give him Gift of Foresight on his Warlord trait. And the other thing I learned this week is Armor Indomitus makes this guy an absolute badass, right? Because I thought that the way Armor Indomitus worked was, and I guess I didn't read it properly, was that, you know, like in most of the stratagems, right? The enemy shoots at you, for example, and before they roll any dice, you go, oh, I'm going to smoke screen, or oh, I'm going to transhuman. Whereas Armor Indomitus works differently in that it says over here, like, once per battle, before making a saving throw for the bearer, it can activate its armor's force field. If it does, then until the end of the phase, the bearer has a 3+ invulnerable save, right? So once per battle before making a saving throw for the bearer. So you can basically wait for the enemy to, you know, for example, right? Like, I was fighting against Morganval this week. Morganval hit me with, I think it was 5 attacks. And each one is 3 damage at -3. So at that point, I can go, alright, he's only got 6 wounds, Captain on the Bike. So if I fail 2 of these, I'm going to be dead. So I can now, and also he did some mortal wounds as well, right? Because Morganval does mortal wounds on 6s. So I can go, I don't like the odds of rolling 5 saves at 4+, so I can roll 5 saves at 3+, because I'm going to activate my Armor Indomitus, and then I can re-roll one of those saves for free, a reroll save on a 3+ invulnerable save is pretty darn nice. And then if I want to, I could CP another save as well. So it actually turned out Morgan Val hit my captain for 5 attacks. I think it was -3 damage. He took 0 damage from that, and then I made some feel no pain rolls, and he literally took 0 damage. So Gift of Foresight and Armor Indomitus seem like a great combination on this guy. I was running Angel's Artifice before, but I think Armor Indomitus is actually kind of more interesting, just because I didn't realize that you get to choose. So you can wait for all the damage to come in, then you can be like, yeah, I really need to make these saves or whatever. And yeah, you can only do it once a battle, but arguably you're only going to be in like really bad harm's way once or twice a battle. If you're in harm's way to more than twice a battle, then you've probably got the character in the wrong position, right? Lore-wise, who wants to go near Death Company? No one, I guess. Obsec Death Company just sounds a bit silly, though. What do you think about potentially dropping 2 Death Company, 1 with a Thunderhammer to bring it to a 5-man squad, and 1 Sangri Guard with Infernal Pistol to bring in a Psyker at some point? So I've been trying to play for a while now to get a competitive army list together, and I think something you have to think about when you're making your army list is to try and make it difficult for your opponent to pick secondaries. So if you have 4 characters, that's like 13 points from Assassinate. So it's okay. I would never take 5 characters because they can max Assassinate. 4 might be okay. Characters really are force multipliers now. Check out the Master of Sanctity Relic, Emperor's Judgment. It cancels hits and wounds rerolls. I mean, that's pretty good as well, I guess, for the Master of Sanctity. But yeah, I think Gift of Foresight and Armor Indomitus seem like a great way to arm this captain. You can also pay 1 CP if you want here, because remember, you get one Warlord trait and you get 1 free relic, right? So you could pay 1 CP to give him another Warlord trait if you so desire. And I do that actually on this guy and give him a 5+ Feel No Pain. But you can do stuff like you could give him Soul Warden to give yourself like a aura of Mortal Wound Shrugs. You could give him like a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer. There is more options with this guy, but this is the minimum I would do here. Obviously, the wise orator I think is so valuable on a chaplain with litanies. So that was going to cost you 1 CP if you want to take it. But wise orator means that the 2 litanies that you cast actually get casted on 2s rather than 3s. So basically, if you think about it, like, how many litanies can you cast a game? So you can cast 10. If your litanies are going off on 3s, you make about 6 successful ones. If your litanies are going off on 2s, you make about 8 successful ones. So for 1 CP to get 2 litanies like a little bit more reliable, I think it's valuable. And then if you really need a litany to go off 100%, you can pay 1 CP because the Wise Orator, it makes the commanding orator stratagem, right, costs 1 command point rather than 2. So if you're ever thinking of using commanding oratory to guarantee a litany, which normally costs 2, then you'd probably be better off just going Wise Orator and make the rest of your litanies more reliable throughout the rest of the game. There is other things you can do with the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, like you can give him a 4 damage Crozius, which is really nice, the Benediction of Fury, and I guess the 2 litanies that I would probably take, I guess, are probably Mantra of Strength, which gives him like the +1 strength, +1 attack, +1 damage on his weapon, which if you don't take that relic weapon, it still gives him a 3 damage Crozius, and I think it puts him onto 7 attacks, which is pretty nice. And then I think what Adam said, Canticle of Hate, which gives you the +2 to the charge. If you've got maybe like Death Company and Terminator Squads arriving from Deep Strike, being able to use the 20-inch advance on the bike and have him appear where they're coming down with that litany running to give them +2 on their charge would probably be pretty nice. And I guess with the Chief of the Apothecary, you really need to take Selfless Healer, right? Which lets you do your resurrections for free each turn. If you manage to resurrect an infantry model every turn of the game, that actually saves you 4 CP. It's pretty great. So this way you would start with 6 CP, which I think is fine. I wouldn't go much lower than 6. Maybe there's one more you could spend here, like you could spend one more on the captain to give him that second warlord trait, or you could spend one more for like quake bolts on something. It would have to probably be like your Inceptors could take quake bolts, which isn't or a squad of infiltrators, I guess, but it isn't great, I guess. The Emperor's Judgment relic that Hydra mentioned is here as well. Each time an attack is made against the bearer, your opponent cannot reroll the hit, cannot reroll the wound, and cannot reroll the damage. The Emperor's Judgment aura, while enemy unit is within 6, each time a morale test is taken for that unit, roll 1 additional d6 and discard the lowest result. Oh wow, okay. So you actually make it harder for the enemy to fail morale. It's a situational relic, I guess, right? Because I guess if you come up an army with a lot of rerolls, it would be good, but against some armies, it's not gonna be that effective. So you were saying would you drop a death company or 2 death company and pick up something else? I feel like if I was going to pick up something else, I'd probably pick up another unit of guys, maybe, rather than like another character. I mean, 4 characters is okay. Don't get me wrong, right? You could pick up a Siger. Here's my problem with this, right? You're already at 455 points in characters. I'm trying to think what my list at the moment looks like. I think it's about the same, because I'm 165 plus like 125, so that's like 290. So I'm probably about 390, 400 points. You're already at 450. When you take that other character, it's quite a lot of points into characters. Like you're talking almost 600 points. Do you know what? The only other, I would run a Librarian Dreadnought here, but I don't think I would run a. Because the thing about characters is they tend to not do as much damage as like a squad of guys, right? And they tend to not survive. It's a tough one. What would it be like? 1 Thunderhammer and 2 Death Company Marines. What's a Thunderhammer cost? 15, and then 2 Death Companies. So that gives you 65 points. If you take this Death Company down to if you take the Death Company down to 5 points, you get 65 points. Yeah, there's not so much you can do with 65 points. Recitation of Focus for the Chaplain. What is Recitation of Focus again? Is that not the... Each time a model makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. Do you need that though, right? Oh, I suppose you could. Suppose you could use that on the attack bikes and then put Chapter Master rerolls on the Redemptor. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be okay. I think that would be okay. I mean, the Chaplain's still, as Wiserator, then I guess like 80% of the game you're going to have a 3 damage Crozius, so that's probably fine, right? Like it's not the end of the world. Do you know what? The 65 points actually that you could get by dropping some Death Company. What I'd probably do actually. Do you know what I would do? I'll tell you what I'd do. I would drop 1 Death Company Marine for 25 points. I think I'd drop both Infernal Pistols out of this Death Company squad for 35 points. We already talked about dropping 1 Sangri Guard pistol, right? So that would be like 40 points. At that point, you're like super close to be able to get 2 company veterans. The company veterans are just tactical marines, basically. I've been making some of them myself. You can arm them with storm shields. You could even arm them with double chainsword if you want to give up their bolt gun. And the great thing about company veterans is they can sit on an objective. They're like 1 power level, so if you wanted to reserve them, and like in some games, right, if the enemy has like a huge amount of shooting firepower, you might want to reserve your attack bikes, right? Attack bikes are 2 power level each, I believe. So if you want to reserve your attack bikes, that's going to be 6 power level, so you're going to need 1 CP to do that. So a squad of company veterans, I think, is this like 2 or 3. I think it was 2, and I think they upped it to 3. Company veterans, yeah. So sorry, they are 3 power level. So you could reserve all your attack bikes and a squad of company veterans. And the great thing about the company veterans is, does double chainsword work? Yeah, company veterans can have double chainsword, 20 points per model. It actually gives them 6 attacks for a 20-point model, which is pretty nice. But I mean, that's not their role, right? Their role is to come in and perform an action, hold the backfield objective. If they start off the board, it gives you lots of options. They can even move into a quadrant for engage on all fronts. So I actually was making a squad of company veterans that was 44 points. And it was a sergeant with a chainsword and a storm shield, and another guy with just double chainsword. And between the two of them, you get 12 attacks, right? Because the sergeant already has 3, chainsword gives him 4, 2 more from charging. I'm assuming turn 3 onwards, right? I guess it's 1 less attack if it's turn 1 and 2, right? But I was also building some company veterans with lightning claws and storm shields, and they come in at 27 points per model. And one thing to say, I suppose, is like Death Company aren't going to be performing actions, right? Sangri Guard, really not going to be performing actions because you're going to want to get in and deal with stuff. Terminators are not going to be performing actions, so you have your 2 squads of infiltrators that can perform actions, and this is good, and they can hold 2 board quadrants themselves, but maybe having that squad of company veterans gives you a little bit of flexibility on, you know, like, for example, here's a thought, right? If you imagine the board, 4 quadrants, and at the start of the game, you want to do retrieve Octavius data. So you've got infiltrators in 1 quadrant on your side of the board, they do the data. In turn 2, your infiltrators on the other quadrant, in your side of the board again, do the data. Now you need to do the data in the 2 opponents' quadrants, right? So you want to pay 1 CP to guerrilla tactics infiltrators, bring them back next turn and put them down in the opponent's, in one of the opponent's quadrants so they can do data. You can do that, and then you could have the company veterans continue to hold the objective in your backfield. Or you could be bringing the company veterans in turn 3 from strategic reserves to do data, and then it makes sort of getting those 12 points from data pretty safe. Yeah, Pedrock's saying you can actually do a squad of servitors. 4 servitors are actually 30 points. And I guess the veterans will do a little bit more damage. And they are probably going to be a little bit more survivable because servitors... What do servitors save? Their toughness 3 and they save on a 4? Is that right? But I guess the interesting thing is that it just gives you one other option. And I mean, if the enemy has to shoot away a unit of veterans or servitors, it's kind of a waste of their firepower, honestly. I had some of both in my list. This list doesn't matter though, right? Okay, so yeah, sorry, you can't run servitors here because you don't have a tech marine, but you do have a captain, and even though you've got 4 elites, the captain lets you take a squad of company veterans as an elite choice it doesn't take a battlefield organization slot. And yeah, I mean, your options with the veterans is bolt pistol and bolt gun or double chainsword for 20 points. I went double chainsword on mine. It's quite a fun model. I've never actually had that many models that have double chainsword. It's quite fun. And I guess, yeah, I mean, you could actually do exactly what I did. If you drop 1 infernal pistol, 1 thunderhammer, 1 death company marine, that gives you 45 points. So you could have plus a storm shield on the sergeant guy. The 2 models, 12 attacks, 1 on the storm shield. So potentially... potentially if you get hit with a las cannon or something, you can still take a save on the storm shield. And like, people seem to generally really try and kill my whirlwind. That seems to be the name of the game for the enemies. So if the enemy is going to take out your whirlwind, and you could potentially using the whirlwind as a backfield objective holder, then you can figure that out, and you can put the veterans down and keep hold of the objective. It's always good to have 2 units on an objective in the backfield, if possible. I know it's not always possible, but if you think you're going to lose something like the whirlwind, like against Death Guard last week, it was like 3 Plague Burst crawlers all shooting their mortars into my whirlwind. I think it survived with like 3 wounds or something, but it could have just as easily been dead. So it's good to have something else on the objective in case something like that happens. And you can start, I generally feel like sometimes terrain's going to mess with you. So 1 CP to put the company veterans and the multi-melt attack bikes into strategic reserve leaves you 5 CP, which is about as low as I would go. And yeah, I mean, I think most of this I pretty much like. Alright, let's do some scoring. OBSEC holding with 2 squads of infiltrators. And do you know what? I'll be scoring it without any of the changes I've done. I mean, I'll score it with these warlord traits that I put in, but I was going to say, is there anything better? This is how I would run them. The only other way I might run them is change out Wiserator for Soul Warden. If you're gonna come up against an enemy that has a ton of mortal wounds, or I would pay 1 more CP on the Chapter Master and give him Soul Warden as well, and give you some protection against like mortal wounds coming in. Incursors would free up a couple of points as well if you felt like you could. 2 squads of infiltrators is good. You could probably get away with 1. Oh, that's great, Hondo. We're doing your list next. So if you need to get 15 more points, you could definitely run a squad of incursors. They're a little bit more aggressive than infiltrators just because they actually have -1 AP on their attacks, which makes a big difference once we get to turn 3, right? And I was looking at Rights of War as well on the captain for extra OBSEC. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility as well, for sure. And you can have Rights of War and Gift of Foresight with the Angel's Exemplar Warlord trait, which is pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, I think like a 8 for OBSEC. I guess it would go up maybe to 8 or 9 if you were going to take Rights of War there. How do we deal with anti-horde lists? So we have, I guess, for horde-based enemies, we have some Inceptors, we have a Whirlwind, we have some Sangri Guard. I do think this is too many Infernal Pistols. And then we have some other firepower from like the Redemptor and the Infiltrators. So it's alright. Maybe a little bit 7.5 maybe? I mean, it's not really designed to fight hordes, this list. It's got more heavy hitting units, right? So if we come up to anti-vehicle, anti-monster, we've got those attack bikes with multi-meltas, we've got the macro plasma and the Redemptor fist, we've got the Terminators with all the hammers, we've got the Sangri Guard, we've got the Death Company with hammers, and then we've got basically 2 characters that can be running 3 damage weapons. And yeah, how many 3 damage weapons have we got? We've got like the Infernal Pistol here, so 2, 3 potentially, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Alright, so 18 3 damage weapons, or when I say 3 damage weapons, I mean 3 damage or above, right? Did I see the updated message, Hondo? I'm not sure if I saw it. When did you send it? Okay, so 18 3 damage weapons. So I think, and obviously 3 different units that can deep strike in, 4 I suppose if you include the Interceptors, and we talked about how it's easy and nice and cheap to reserve the attack bikes and multi-metas as well, so I'm guessing like a 9, maybe even a 9/5 for anti-monster here. 18 3-damage weapons is very good. It's been a long week, Hondo. I'm guessing I haven't seen it. Are you on the Discord? Can you DM me it? And I'll pick it up just now. Yeah, and I guess Death Company do a little bit of anti-horde as well. So maybe it's an 8. Mobility then? The Terminators and the Redemptor aren't mobile. I guess everything else is, right? Terminators, I guess their mobility after they come down is questionable. Redemptors, yeah, I mean, I guess probably like an 8 for mobility, maybe an 8.5. We'll say an 8. I use Redemptors. I used a multiple Redemptors this week. Once they get profiled, they're kind of slow. And I think it only takes 6 wounds to profile them, or 7 wounds I think to profile them. I think 7 to 13 is the top bracket. So they get profile basically like from 1 multi-melta or a couple of failed plasmas, and they don't typically get saves against those weapons, right? Because the Redemptor just has a 3-up save. And then Specialization, right? So you have the ability to make the enemy fight last, which is great from the Whirlwind. You have 18 3-damage weapons, so you shouldn't have too much problem against like Dreadnoughts or Death Guard heavy lists. You only got 3 characters, so that's good for not giving up too many points. In terms of, it's not going to be easy for the enemy to assassinate you. You got 2 troops of Infiltrators, which makes doing actions pretty decent. If you did include the company vets, I think it would be even stronger. I guess the one weakness here is you don't have any denies from the Psychic. I mean, some people have been talking actually about the Cluxus Assassin as a potential. But then I guess if you did do that, then you go back to, as a potential anti-psyker, if you did do that, you go back to 4 characters and you potentially give up some points that way. I think it's a tough one. I've just moved to 3-character list myself, and I think that's more optimal. I had been running 4 characters for the longest time. Maybe before our points costs went up, that was more viable. So I think 3 characters is probably the sweet spot at the moment. But yeah, so I think maybe like an 8 for Specialization, just missing a couple of things, but overall pretty solid. So 41.5, something like that. Maybe if we fix a couple of these weapons, because you don't need 18 3-damage weapons. I recommend people have like 10, so you could probably bring that down to 15 very comfortably and still do well. So that means moving some of these points around, dropping a Thunderhammer or an Infernal Pistol, maybe bringing in those vets, gives you another half point in OBSEC, and maybe gives you another half point in Specialization. Still 41.5. I think I scored my list like last week or something, and like I think it scored about 41 as well, 42. So I think this is pretty solid. Slim. I do wonder about, is it worth trying the 5 points for the Teleport Homer on the Terminators? If you assume that you're going to have the Terminators arrive in turn 2, right? And you're going to do something like play Fury of the First on them, right? So that they get +1 to hit with the Thunder Hammers. So you have them arrive in turn 2. How many hammers does that give you? I think it's 3 on the Sergeant, 2 in the rest. So you get like 11 Thunder Hammers +1 from charging, so 16 Thunder Hammers. Normally you're hitting on 4s. You pay the 1 CP, so you're hitting on 3s. So you potentially have 11 Thunder Hammers. I guess if your captain can be in range of that charge, great, but otherwise you've got 11 Thunder Hammers, 11 hits, so you're probably going to wound on 2s, maybe 3s. So you're going to force the enemy to save up against like 8 3-damage Thunder Hammers. You're probably going to be able to make a kill. My webcam has crashed. Oh, let me turn it off and on again, thanks. I believe my webcam has crashed. Oh. So maybe, I was going to say, maybe there's a play there where... what has happened? Alright, I'm seeing it on the little camera here. 1 second. Strange. There's always something, isn't there? The black rage just taken over the stream. The camera, yeah. I don't know if I can fix it. Alright, let me see if I can flick it to my old crappy camera. There we go. Alright, so we're just going to be on the crap camera for the rest of the stream. Sorry about that. Probably, it maybe doesn't look that crap, but trust me, it is. Okay. Yeah, I did wonder, teleport Homer, right? Is that a possibility? Would that be better than another Infernal Pistol? With the ability to kill something in turn 2, lift them up, and then bring them back down? Maybe. It's a question mark. You have to try it. But yeah, I mean, cool list, Slim. And I think a decent score. Hopefully we gave you some good suggestions on how you can take it to the next level. But yeah, I do recommend you try and play it maybe once before you just go making sweeping changes, and try and go ahead and alright, I think you sent me it twice, Hondo? So yeah, I generally say, like, go ahead and try and play it once, and then think about some of the suggestions I made and see where you get to. Okay. Alright, no problem. Thank you very much, Slim. Alright, so let's move on to Hondo's list. So hopefully this is right, Hondo. If it's not, please tell me it's not, and I'll see what I can do. Can I replace the original list above with an updated list I made? If so, here it is. Army list design ideas. The Chapter Master on a bike to buff the dreads and provide countercharge support. Tech Marine to buff heal dreads and countercharge support. Sangri Priest to run with Blade Guard veterans of the Sangri Guard. Judiciar to provide 6-inch fight last and 6-inch heroic intervention bubble. It's not a 6-inch fight last anymore, just so you know. It's 3 inches. They nerfed that. It's not mentioned in... Alright, yeah, I guess you thought you could use something to buff the range of it. Yeah. Company veterans can sit on objective and score secondary points. Infiltrators to screen backfield and score secondaries. Relic Contemptor to sit in far back and focus will be to shoot obsec troops off contested objectives or other priority targets. Blade Guard veterans to hold middle objectives and or centerboard for secondary. Sangri Guard to deep strike with Priest or jump up the field and kill tough targets. Vanguard veterans to deploy and kill screens. Obsec troops score primary secondary points and board control. Okay, what's up, Aaron? How you doing? Did you hear about the GW stuff? There's already a petition. I did not hear about GW stuff. I have been following a few things. We were talking about it on stream last night. I know that some YouTube channels are basically almost shut down at this point or going on hiatus. I'm just hoping it doesn't happen to me. I'm going to continue to do my thing and hope it doesn't affect me. If there is a petition, though, I don't mind you linking it if you have a link to it so people can see it. That's fine by me. Alright, so it's a 2,000 point army list, and we start with a patrol detachment. And we have one extra relic. So we have company veterans, 43 point company veteran squad. This veteran sergeant has 1 chainsword and a lightning claw. I think this is cool. I like it. And this other one has 2 chainswords. So what we were talking about just a minute ago is now being put into force by Hondo. The captain on the bike with heroic bearing. He's got a chainsword. He's the chapter master. He's a twin bolt gun, and he's the warlord. Do you know what? If you're doing this, I'd be so tempted to give him Teeth of Terra, because like I just think the captain is so strong and survivable with his toughness 5. Giving him Teeth of Terra at least like gives him a 2 damage weapon and a boatload of attacks. Like, how many attacks does a captain normally get? 4, so 5 in the charge, 6 from Savage Echoes, 7 from a chainsword, but 7 minus 1 against, and Teeth of Terra is also +1 strength as well, right? So it makes it so much easier to wound. 2 damage, and it just shreds through infantry, right? So I'd be so tempted to see if you can find the points to get the Teeth of Terra. The Tech Marine with the bolt gun, Master of the Forge, and the Power Axe and Servo Arm. If you can find 10 points, or if we can find 10 points, you need to get a Primaris Tech Marine. That's literally what I've been doing. That's literally what I was doing last night on the stream. Look, Primaris Tech Marine. Like, I have a regular Tech Marine, but for 10 points more, the Primaris one is so good. You get like +1 wound, you get +1 attacks, you get 2 extra attacks in combat from the Mecha Dendrites, you get access to Transhuman, obviously. The Forge Bolter is great if you need to advance and keep up with Dreadnoughts and still shoot. And you can shoot both the Forge Bolter, which is basically a 3-shot heavy bolter, and his pistol in the same turn. If you can find the points, it's something we can consider, right? And I've been running Quake Bolts on mine as well, which I think is nice too. Teeth of Terror should be a BA only relic. Screw everyone else, it's ours. So I think 10 points. I think 10 points on the Tech Marine. Like, I have a Firstborn Tech Marine, and I actually love him. But like, I finally broke down and bought a Primaris Tech Marine. It's coming in the tier list video next week, so you'll know on Friday. I think we placed both of them pretty high, but the Primaris Tech Marine got placed really high. We then have a squad of Infiltrators and 2 Relic Contemptors, Cyclones and Volkites, which is pretty much what Chris Chance was running in his competitive list, right? So the Cyclones give you some anti-tank punch, the Volkites, not so great against, like for example, against Custodes. The twin Volkite coverings are going to be pretty weak, but they will pump out mortal wounds, and against enemies that don't have the greatest saves, they will be very good. I think it's heavy 16 between the 2 of them. I think they're both heavy 8. I need to check that. 1 second. Relic Contemptor. Is that right? Twin Volkite covering. Yeah, heavy 8. Strength 6, 2 damage, no AP, that's their 1 weakness, but every 6 inflicts a mortal wound, and you're gonna get heavy 16 from each dreadnought, so you're definitely gonna roll a couple of 6s, I would have thought, at least. And every failed save is gonna kill some things, especially 2 damage models. Or sorry, 2 wound models. We then move into the second detachment, and it's the Vanguard detachment. Hey Maverick, hey left-handed Texan, how you doing? We then have the Sangri Priest, who is Icon of the Angel, the jump pack selfless healer. And I do have a little question around running both the Sangri Priest and the Tech Marine. I feel like you're probably slightly stronger if you lean more into one, and I guess what I mean by that is you either lean into infantry and take the Priest, or you lean into vehicles and take the Tech Marine, but let's continue. We then have 2 5-man squad of Blade Guard veterans. Alright, I guess if you're going to run middle with 10 Blade Guard veterans and a Judasar with the selfless healer, sorry, not selfless healer, selfless valor, and I guess Vox the Spiritum doesn't improve his aura, so I don't think there's anything else you would really need on him. I'd probably just save that CP from the Vox the Spiritum. So if you are going to run a Priest with 10 Blade Guard veterans and the Judasar to push the middle, then maybe this is fine. And then I guess, okay, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 Vanguard veterans. Sorry, not 8. 2, 4, 6, 7 Vanguard veterans with 1 Thunderhammer, Rest, Lightning Claws, and another one Thunderhammer, Rest, Lightning Claws, and then 2, 4, 6, 7 Sangri Guard. So actually, yeah, I guess you have enough of both where it kind of feels like this would be okay. Is there anywhere we could find 10 points though? And I guess because the Primaris units don't have that many options, probably not. I mean, you could drop your Infiltrators for Incursors. Depends on how much value you usually get out of Infiltrators sitting in the backfield. I mean, the only other option, I guess, would be to take one of these Vanguard veterans and just give them Bolt Pistol and Chainsword, and lose that Lightning Claw from the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. I think that the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant, I mean, these guys are not particularly meant to be into combat, right? So I'd probably be fine with him having double Chainsword, really. Would you lose that much if one Vanguard Veteran had a Chainsword and no Bolt Pistol? No Storm Shield? Probably not. You're always going to take some losses in the unit. You just assume that the first loss goes on the weak guy. Thanks for tuning in, Highland, and thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, it's been crazy to think this is a year-old channel, but we're here now, so thank you so much. Okay, ran a Land Raider Crusader for the first time yesterday. It worked very, very well. Yeah, I mean, I guess in the current meta, not many people are going to expect to fight a Land Raider Crusader. I tend to run a Tech Marine with 4+ vehicles, never with 2, but that's just me. Yeah, I think that 2 is the minimum. I think I would like if I'm running a Tech Marine, I want probably more than 2 vehicles, which is maybe why I was saying at the beginning you either lean on the Priest or you lean on the Tech Marine. I guess the advantage of the Tech Marine here is that you could Chapter Master reroll 1 Dread, so 1 Dread hits on 3s rerolling everything, and the other Dread hits on 2s rerolling 1s because of the Tech Marine. So there is some value here, and you know it's. Contemptor Dreads do have a 5+ invulnerable save, toughness 7, so it is going to be reasonably difficult for the enemy to drop them in a single turn, which means you're probably going to get to repair them a few times. So, does the Vox's Spirit boost the fight last? No, it does not. He said that was a mistake in his list, so we actually deleted that. Afternoon Jar Miniatures, how you doing? So, yeah, I mean, 10 Blade Guard veterans in the middle with a Judasar, 3 squads of jump infantry with a Sangri Priest, and then the Tech Marine with the Dreads and the Infiltrators to hold. I think it's a decent list. In this list, if those Dreadnoughts are going to sit back, then I guess you're probably maybe okay with the Tech Marine not having. The advantage of the Primaris Tech Marine, one of the biggest advantages is that he can move, right? And then advance and still shoot his pretty good bolt gun, which is strength 5 -1, 2 damage, 3 shots. Whereas this guy essentially, because neither of your Dreadnoughts have melee weapons, you're probably going to sit back with your Dreadnoughts, so you're probably actually fine with the regular Tech Marine. Probably the Primaris Tech Marine's possibly not going to actually give you that much value here. It's more about Redemptors that are going to benefit, I think, from that. So CP wise, then we've got Icon of the Angel here, and we've got Selfless Healer, so that's 2 spent. We have the Vanguard Detachment, so that's 3 spent. We have the 2 Relic Contemptors, so that's 6, 7 spent. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess if you are going to take Teeth of Terra here, that would be 8 spent. I generally don't recommend starting on 4 CP. I mean, it's okay. It feels low though, right? Dex says the Primaris Tech Marine wants to escort. Yeah, I think he absolutely does want to escort. So I think this list actually the regular Tech Marine is fine. Okay, I mean, it's a little sad with all these units that we don't have Rights of War, because that could have been pretty cool, but I think that, and I guess we may struggle, Cyclone Missile Launchers have 36 inch range. Crack missiles can do damage against enemy armor, but they're only -2, right? So it's kind of kind of it's kind of minor, or kind of, it's not going to happen that often, I guess, right? Yeah, I really like the captain on a bike in combat, especially being chapter master. Later in the game, sometimes if he's in combat, he can just do rerolls on himself. If he's rerolling on himself and he's got like the Teeth of Terra, he's going to have the ability to do like 16-20 damage in a turn. I think it's probably pretty good. I know CP is tight, but there isn't any psychic in there, and I wonder if the points were to upgrade the Tech Marine to Primaris, could the Reliquary of Grathmore help offer some psychic defense? I mean, the Reliquary of Grathmore feels to me like it offers the most minor amount of defense. Like, it's just going to be like -1 to tests. Like, it's not going to be a reliable defense, I guess. Okay, let's think about some scoring here. 1 squad of Infiltrators. And then I guess potentially the 1 squad of veterans. So OBSEC is probably going to be pretty low. Like, probably like a 6-5. Oh, I've put the scores around the wrong way. Oops. I put Hondo's score in for Slim Hogan. Alright. Oh, sorry, I put Slim Hogan's score in for Hondo. Okay, so maybe like 6.5. Anti-infantry lists. So heavy 32 coming out from these. Cyclone missile launchers, if I remember correctly, they can basically get 2d6 shots, right? Cyclone and frags. Yeah, heavy 2d6, right? So the Relic Contemptors can put out a ton of anti-horde firepower. I guess Blade Guard veterans, if they have to, could mince through hordes. Vanguard veterans with Lightning Claws can absolutely mince through hordes as well. I guess like this is probably like a 9. I think just the fact that each of these dreadnoughts could get 28 shots against horde-based lists is pretty nuts. And it would be 28 shots hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, or hitting on 3s, rerolling everything, right? With the Tech Marine and the Chapter Master. So let's say anti-horde is like a 9. Because we've got that sort of reasonably good firepower. Yes, it's low AP, but we're backing it up with a ton of lightning claws. 3 damage weapons then. So we've got 2 thunder hammers here, an infernal pistol here. That gives us 3. I haven't played the Judiciar for a while, but his sword is 2 damage with 6s doing a mortal wound, right? So arguably, I guess that would be 4. And then the Cyclone missile launchers gives us 6. The Tech Marine's definitely got a 3 damage in his servo arm, so that's 7. And then nothing on our captain or a bike, unfortunately. So about 7 3 damage weapons. So maybe a little bit light there. But a lot of lightning claws, and lightning claws are kind of the counter to those -1 damage enemies. James says, I recently got the Legion Falchion Super Heavy Tank Destroyer. Yours was the reason I got inspired to get one. Nice, James. How much did you pay for it? Like, which country are you in? And how have you built it yet? How long did it take to build it? Infernals. Oh, okay. 2 more Infernal Pistols. Thank you for following, subscribing, Alexei. Appreciate that. So 9 3 damage weapons. Okay. And Lightning Claws, I was trying to say, they're like the counter to that -1 damage nonsense, right? Because they get to wound really reliably, and you get to reroll your wounds. All swords in the Sangri Guard, which is fine, but I think axes are slightly better choice as we move later into the new edition. And then Blade Guard veterans get a very good, healthy number of attacks. The Blade Guard veteran sergeant gets more attacks than the Sangri Guard, right? Yeah. Thanks, James. Appreciate the subscribing. I got it yesterday and planning on getting together. Nice. You need like a friggin' saw to put that thing together. And honestly, like, I ended up using so much glue in mine. I still, to this day, I'm not sure if it's stuck perfectly. The thing is so heavy. It's a really fun model, though. Fun model to paint. Took me ages to paint mine. Okay. I guess we're looking at, like... I think we'll go with a 9 for anti-monster. I think we're going to... Yeah, I think so. Mobility here is actually pretty good. There's enough units that aren't mobile that we have to score it down a little bit, but like the main bulk of the force is very mobile. All the Sangri Guard, Vanguard Veterans, and the Priest, and the Chapter Master. So I think it's probably something similar, like any, we've got the 2 Dreadnoughts. I guess Relic Contemptors don't get profiled, right, because they're less than 10 wounds, so that's nice at least. But I guess like your Tech Marines on foot, your Blade Guard Veterans, your Judiciars. So I think about an 8. And then... This is really my formula, copying and pasting those things. Specialization. So we don't have a Psyker. We do have Fight Last. We do have Chapter Master rerolls. We do have 1 unit that can Guerrilla Tactics. And I guess 1 other Company Veteran unit. I mean, these 2 squads of Blade Guards, there's definitely some scope here for some action performing. And... we have the ability to res, we have the ability to heal the vehicles. So we don't have denies. We might have some issues about actions. Like, there's a small question mark about it. I don't think it's a big question mark, but there's maybe a small question mark about the number of units that we can perform actions with. I guess it limits our secondaries a little bit. And then 3 damage weapons, we had 9, which I guess is like borderline. I think I said like I like to see 10 in a list. I guess when we talk about 3 damage weapons, though, I completely ignored the fact that the twin Volkite caverns on each Dreadnought will do, I guess in an average round of firing, probably like 3 or 4 mortal wounds, right? Because it's heavy 16. How do the mortal wounds come? Are they from wound rolls or what? Each time attack make an unmodified wound roll. Yeah, so both your Dreadnoughts have about 88% chance to hit. So you're gonna be hitting like 14 times, and then 1.666 or 0.166 is rolls of 6s. So yeah, I guess you're going to get 2.34 mortal wounds each turn from the Dreadnought. So about 5 mortal wounds. So yeah, I think this, based on that, Specialization is probably very similar to the list we just looked at. I think it's like an 8. I would feel happier, or I guess I would feel better about this list if my captain had more damage potential. I always like my characters to have some good damage potential, and I feel like the captain is the one guy here that's kind of screaming out to have some more damage potential. And yeah, I mean, I think the only other thing I'm thinking is, like, we've got 10 Blade Guard veterans, right? Would it be better to have like a squad of 4, 3, and a 3? So one of them could potentially perform actions, and 7 of them could still do stuff. I understand you've got them in 5s, so you could transhuman. Are you out of elite slots here? Yeah, you've got a patrol. Damn it, yeah. Because that would have been nice if you could have had one of them broken off, right? Because then like 7 of them could have fought, and like one of them, like, if you're going to put Blade Guard veterans in the middle of the board, Investigate Sites is the one where you just perform an action, I think within 3 inches of the middle of the board, and you get victory points. Combo up the Vanguard veteran squad and combat squad them. I mean, that's another option. Yeah, if you made this Vanguard veteran a 10-man. So how many is this normally? There's 7s, right? 2, 4, 6, 7. If you made them a 10, so you could combat squad them. you get 4 extra models back. I guess these models are 27 points. So you basically got like 104 points back. You could throw like one more guy into the Sangri Guard, and then you've got 60 points or something. And then you could possibly do like Blade Guard Veterans 4-4-3 or something. Like add one more Blade Guard Veteran. So 8 of them are fighting, and 3 of them are there that you don't worry if they perform an action. I mean, it's rough to perform an action with a 175 point squad. Likewise, it's rough to perform an action with a 200 point Vanguard Veteran squad. And here's the thing, right? My list that won 11 games in a row was back when you only needed to do 3 actions to get the maximum points from Scramblers, right? Now you need to do 4 actions. And I think since it moved to 4 actions, I've moved away from the double patrol with just the 1 Infiltrators or the 1 Phobos units, because I was finding that quite difficult to do, especially with the nerf to guerrilla tactics. Like before, when guerrilla tactics was like you leave and come back the same turn, it was very easy to get the 10 points. Now that you have to spend a whole turn off the board, essentially, it's quite difficult to get the points from guerrilla tactics with just... it's quite difficult to get the Octarius, because if you do Octarius in turn 1, let's say with you do it in turn 1 with your Infiltrators, and then in turn 2 you guerrilla tactics them. In turn 2 you have, let's say, the veterans do. So you've done Octarius in the 2 quadrants on your side of the board. Turn 3 the Infiltrators are going to come on in the opponent's quadrant potentially and do it, and then you can pay guerrilla tactics again, and then they come back in turn 5. But if anything happens that changes that flow, right, because that is the ideal flow, if anything happens that changes that flow, then you end up potentially dropping 4 points from just not having the units in the right place to do the data. And data is still really good. And yeah, both Pedrog and Dex are pointing out that because you do have a Tech Marine, you could take a unit of Servitors for free. So you could actually just drop 1 Blade Guard Veteran, right? Because you could have a 5 and a 9. A 5 and a 4, so you could have 9 rather than 10. And that gives you 35 points. A squad of Servitors are 30 points. And I guess I'm sure you could find a way to spend 5 points elsewhere in this list. Maybe even give your captain on a bike an Infernal Pistol. I actually really like giving him an Infernal Pistol because, like I said, he's a good fighty character that tends to survive. If he survives, then you just shoot them point blank range with an Infernal Pistol for potentially 8 damage, So that's something to consider as well. So I think 41, so 40 and a half I think is a pretty good score, but I think that there's probably potential here to just make a few small tweaks, and you can probably move that up to at least equal what Slim did earlier in the stream, like another 41, maybe even get a little bit ahead, I guess. So yeah, hopefully that gives you some thoughts, Hondo, that maybe help you. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to say like the change to data is the reason that I've lost a bunch of games, but it's not, because I've lost the games by a lot more than 2 points. But it is important. It is important to say that the change of both guerrilla tactics on Octarius data, or Scramblers as it was known before, means that it's nowhere near as effective to just run 1 squad of troops to perform your actions. They just can't do it anymore. You're very welcome, man. And yeah, big props to the chat over the course of the year, helping people out. Probably chat helps out people just as much as I do. So James actually got a super heavy Astraeus as well, a Typhoon heavy siege tank, and a scout tank. You can only like barely field one of them at once, right, James? I regularly throw in 1 or 2 heavy bolters too. It's always good for a giggle. Yeah, I mean, Servitors 5 points, you could throw on a heavy bolter. I mean, it's only going to hit on 5s, but I mean, it's fine. Actually, do you know what? If you put it next to the Tech Marine, so it gets +1 to hit, right? Is that right? Been a little while since I run Servitors. Servitors. While within 6 inches of a friendly tech marine, weapon and ballistic skill becomes 4+, leadership becomes 9. In addition, if your army is battle-forged for each tech marine and including a detachment, you can include this servitors without taking out a battlefield roll. That'd probably be a good shout then. And if you only have to drop 1 Blade Guard veteran, I feel like 9 Blade Guard veterans in the centre of the map, it probably works just well. Cool. The lack of OBSEC units hurts this list as well. I don't know if the lack of OBSEC units hurt it. I just think if you're gonna take data, you need to be prepared to score data, right? And I think that's maybe what I was not prepared in for a bunch of games. Since the new Chapter Approved came out. Like when Chapter Approved first came out, I was on that crazy win streak and I just kept winning. And sometimes when you keep winning, I've said this before in my stream, when you're winning, you don't analyze your list. Like, you know, if I win a game of Warhammer, I come home, I pat myself on the back, say, well done, John, you won again, and that's it. I don't think about anything. I put the list back, I put all the models back in the cupboard, and I go to bed. If I come home and I lose a game, I'm like, all right, Battle Scribe, the Codex, what the hell have I got to change? Why did I lose the game? So, that's something to consider. All right, we're going to move on to Emmanuel's list next. And after months, I repost a new list, Fruits of Hours of Testing. All right, so it's 60 CP, 1999 points, and it's a patrol detachment. And he's got Angel's Ascendant, and he's got 1 extra relic. Okay, so we start off in this list with Dante. 165 points. He's obviously going to give us +1 CP. And then we have the Sangri Priest, who has Artificer Armor. And I don't know if I like Artificer Armor on the Sangri Priest. I think the Sangri Priest should never be in a position where he is A, getting shot, or B, in combat. If he's in either of those 2 positions, you've put him in the wrong position. If you want to take a defensive trait on him, I would probably take Armor Indomitus, because it gives him that extra wound. It gives him the same 2+ save as Artificer Armor. And if you fucked up your positioning, then you can use the 3++ invulnerable save phase thing that the Armor Indomitus grants to basically try and really make sure he stays alive, and then use his jump pack to get the hell out of there. Artificer Armor just basically puts him in Terminator Armor, 2+, 5++, and I don't think it's a valuable relic. I think it's a waste. Like, he should not. If you find that you're needing that on your priest is in the wrong position, right? We then have a Infiltrator Squad. And yeah, I mean, like, sometimes the enemy might jump on your priest with like a character or a deep striker, if they, you know, like they know the strength of the priest, they want to take him out. I don't think this makes him survive that. I think Armor Indomitus gives him a chance of surviving that, but I don't think a 5++ invulnerable save on a toughness 4 model with only 4 wounds makes a hell of a difference. It doesn't. I mean, unless you get like one of Andrew's crazy 5+ saves, I don't think it works. We then have Sangri Guard, and it's a 5 Sangri Guard all with axes, and another 5 Sangri Guard all with axes. I mean, I guess keeping the minimum size is interesting. I tend to always feel Sangri Guard work best in squads of 8, but if you want to run them in 2 5s and try and move them around the board together, I mean, I guess that's probably fine. We then move on to Librarian with Null Zone and Psychic Fortress, an Icon of the Angel and the Jump Pack, and I guess this is a good all-round pick, right? Null Zone obviously provides great value, and Psychic Fortress gives you that early sort of castle deployment, which you can use very effectively. We also have another Firstborn Tech Marine in this list with Master of the Forge and Quake Bolts. And I just used Quake Bolts for the first time, and I actually really like it on the Tech Marine. It's, you know, especially if you're going to use different units that have like Thunderhammers and stuff, then I can see Quake Bolts being very, very useful. And Warden of the Ancient is a strange pick here. Warden of the Ancient, I believe, gives a Tech Marine any dreadnoughts around it get +1 attacks, and I forget the other part of the rule. They get +1 strength and +1 attacks, right? So the strength basically gives you no bonus here, because I see further down it's Redemptor Dreadnoughts, so they're already strength 14, right? because the fist gives us ×2 strength. So +1 strength is going to make no difference here because, or in most situations, it's going to make no difference because we're going to be wounding on 3s with +1 to wound, even against toughness 8. So the +1 attacks on each of these dreadnoughts, I mean, it's nice, but I don't know if I feel like it's worth 1 CP. I feel like if these dreadnoughts are getting in combat and you've got 3 of them and you've got the Tech Marine and you're probably going to want them all to be near the Tech Marine, I feel like if they're getting in combat, they're probably going to be able to kill what they're going to do. The +1 strength is maybe useful Dex for other chapters, right? Because if you imagine you need to be double the strength to wound on 2s. So if you were attacking enemy armor with a dreadnought that's 14 strength, then you would only wound on... Sorry. No, you're right. You're right. The +1 strength makes no difference unless we're not looking at Redemptors. Maybe if we're looking like a strength 6 dreadnought that was the claws on strength 12. But yeah, I don't know. The +1 strength, I think you're right. It seems like a low value pick at best. The +1 attack, if you've got Quake bolts, are you really going to need... I mean, each of those dreadnought weapons is going to hit on 2s. They're probably going to wound on 2s. Each one's going to do d6 damage. I think Warden of Ancients is a kind of a low value pick here as well. We then have elites. So we've got 6-man Blade Guard veteran with 5-man, sorry, with the Volkite pistol. 3 Redemptor dreadnoughts. This is actually what I'm running at the moment. 3 Redemptors. Slightly different weapon configurations than myself, but this is absolutely fine. Vanguard veteran squad with lightning claws on all of them and a relic blade on the sergeant. Again, lightning claws and a relic blade on the sergeant. I guess if you could find 2 more points on each one, I would swap out those relic blades for thunder hammers, and the reason that I would do that would just give you more reliability against -1 damage enemies. Peculiarly of the lists is the triple Redemptor plus Forge Master with a trait and the 24-inch Quake bolts and a 2+ base, so you can have bonus to hit rerolls. I don't know, curing when the time arises and boost the number of attacks. Okay, the Blade Guard is here as Foot Slugger Wall that will go for the centre. The rest is pretty classic. The only peculiarity is Icon of the Angel and Librarians to the Priest. I find that more than not, the Librarian is a position for buffing more units, so it's better than him. Okay. I think this bit at the bottom is him replying to something that I wrote. Okay. So Dante, a priest, a librarian, and a Tech Marine. I feel like... What's that? 200 points? 515 points on characters. It's really pushing it on the characters. It's also opening up an Assassinate for 13 points for the enemy, so that's something to be aware of. 3 Redemptors and a Tech Marine. So I tried that this week with the Primaris Tech Marine, and I thought it was super strong. Vanguard veterans with Lightning Claws, we know they're strong. Blade Guard for pushing the middle is very good. Probably a little bit low on OBSEC units, in that, we just have that one Infiltrator Squad. Maybe makes scoring data a little bit tricky, and then the Sangri Guard just being in 5s. I think all his jump units are in 5s. Oh, excuse me. I guess the reason to have all the jump pack units in 5s is to protect against, if enemies are dropping in with Inceptors or something like that, but, does it really help? Here's a question. So if I drop in 3 Plasma Inceptors and shoot, let's say, a 5-man squad of Sangri Guard, on average, each gun will get 2 hits, so we'll get 12 hits. If we've played Descent of the Angels or something, we're hitting on 2s. Potentially, we're going to reroll 1s, let's say. So even without the reroll 1s, you're going to get 10 hits. You're going to wound on 2s. So you're going to have to take 8.3 saves at -4 EP, and each failed save is a dead model. So there's almost zero advantage to putting these... keeping these under 5, right? You're basically saving 1 or 2. If at that point, I think it just comes down to good positioning rather than trying to make the squads 5s. But that's just my opinion. It It would have been nice if it could have been the Primaris Tech Marine. I would probably actually drop the pistol, the Neo-Volkite pistol in this Blade Guard Sergeant and see if we can find the Primaris 5 points for the Primaris Tech Marine, because that might be better. I mean, the way we could do it, I guess, is like swap out this Relic Blade for a Lightning Claw, swap out this Relic Blade for the Thunder Hammer. So this would be -7, this would be +2. That gives us 5. So that would let you get that Primaris Tech Marine. I definitely would drop Warding of the Ancient. I don't think it's valuable. And how many CP did this list start with? So you had 1 Relic of the Chapter. So he's got Hero of the Chapter. So Dante gives him +1. This guy gives him -1, so that's evens. What's Angel's Ascendant spent on? He also has Warden of the Ancient, which I would drop. Quake Bolts and Icon of the Angel, so 2 more. And this is a Vanguard, right? Yeah. So he's starting like with 6, but I would drop Warden of the Ancient, so he's starting with 7, right? Warden is nice for the attack alone, but you need to learn hard, but you need to lead hard into having 3 dreads in all combat as often as possible to get the use out of it, and that's not going to be hard in positioning alone. Yeah, and sometimes your Tech Marine needs to follow 1 dreadnought around, and if that's going to happen, then you're gonna. I think it's a low value pick. I would probably either save the CP or find something else to spend it on. Thank you very much, Rezil. I appreciate that. It's crazy to think we've been doing this for a year. I honestly don't know where the year's gone, but thank you guys all for hanging out, watching all the videos, supporting the channel. We got 52 people watching today, so yeah, really appreciate it. Channel wouldn't be here without all the support, Okay, so let's think about scoring. So we just have the 1 OBSEC unit, so it's like a 6-5. No company veterans or anything nice like that to maybe push us up a tiny bit. Anti-Horde infantry is pretty good when you've got 3 Redemptors. I mean, like, you're getting 24 heavy. What is it? Strength 5 -1, 1 damage. So it's basically like two twin assault cannons. You also have the plasmas, which I guess, if you're shooting at troops that have ever got more than 11 models, that's the maximum 6 shots. Minimum of 3 shots if it's 6, so potentially like a 10 shots out those plasma cannons on average. Good amount of Angelus bolt guns as well. Good amount of lightning claws. I think anti-horde here is probably fine up on like an 8 is something. Cheers to another great year. Yeah, I hope so, Camille. And thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do a lot more, there's a lot of videos I still want to make, I guess, and hopefully over the new year we can continue to the new year. It sounds like it's Christmas or New Year. No, just in the next year. Hopefully, I have got this new camera now. I do plan on making a couple of painting videos as well at some point. And I've got 2 tournaments coming up, so hopefully I'll be able to get some analysis from those tournaments as well. So there should be some interesting videos coming up, that's for sure. Over the next, I was going to say over the rest of the year, I guess. And as always, I mean, there is a video channel on Discord if you have suggestions or if you have requests as well. If someone wants to see a specific thing mathed out or anything like that, happy to do it. If you have a request, just tag me and throw it in the video room. I do occasionally look through that video room for ideas if I'm struggling. But yeah, okay. 3 damage weapons then. 3 Redemptors gives us 6. The Tech Marine gives us 7. The Librarian gives us 8. Potentially 9 if you include Smite in that. And Commander Dante gives us 9. I really wish Commander Dante's weapon was 3 damage. I think that was the thing that came up the most out of like the video I made on Dante. People were like, you know what, if his weapon, like if his axe was 3 damage, that would just make him like so much more viable. And I was like, yeah, probably. Like he gets a very decent amount of attacks. So if his axe was 3 damage, like wouldn't take much to make Dante really, really strong. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, like, so I played this week with the 3 Redemptors. They're quite difficult to take down Redemptors, especially when they're backed up with a Tech Marine. The plasma cannons are pretty good. The fists are pretty good. I think this is a 9.5 for anti-enemy armor and monsters. I think you can do a lot of work, especially with the Chapter Master and the Tech Marine. And in some ways, Dante's better than the Chapter Master, right? Because his aura is like 9 inches. Movement, mobility, I guess, is going to be like the same sort of 8, right? 3 Redemptors, they are your least mobile things. And there's some Blade Guard veterans in there as well. So mobility is kind of average. And then specialization. So this list it doesn't have a fight last, but it does have a deny from the librarian. It does have like almost 10 3 damage weapons. I guess something that the other lists don't have is heroic bearing. You know, it gives you that +1 to your morale tests around Dante. We're maybe a little short on units for actions. And yeah, I think, you know, no fight last, only 1 deny, slightly short in units for actions, and then slightly short on 3 damage weapons. But I mean, it's still a well-rounded list, and it's obviously, I mean, the core of it is not bad at all. I mean, maybe if you're happy to basically make one of these Vanguard veteran squads someone that's going to bounce around and do some actions, then, you know, maybe it's not bad. I think specialization is going to just be a little bit lower than the other two. I think coming in at 7 or something like that for 39, and that is a good score. The way I play the game is that I feel like Vanguard veterans at 157 points, Blade Guard veterans at 180 points, Sangri Guard even at 160 points, right? Like, if you want to be doing actions, you want a unit that is cheaper than 160 points. I think the lowest tier is 157, right? Like, this is why veterans are great. I suppose this is why servitors are great and like actually placed really highly in the tier lists. And this is why some troop units, you know, like assault intercessors. We talked about assault intercessors not being a particularly great unit, right? But if you actually just want to put Primaris feet on the board to perform actions, then they are kind of the cheapest that you can do for 19 points per model. So again, with this Tech Marine, servitors wouldn't hurt for actions. Yeah, how could you get servitors in this? Do you know what? You could actually get servitors in this very easily. You could merge one of these Sangri Guard squads together and rather do like 5. What would this be? 5 and 5. Just do like 1 squad of 8. Bring in a squad of servitors. Maybe if we have an extra point or something, bump out one of these Vanguard veteran squads with another model with a Thunderhammer, right? We also have the captain here in this. Oh no, Dante doesn't have the captain keyword, so he can't. Unfortunately, that's a big overview. That's a big oversight with Dante. Dante should have the captain keyword, so you can bring veterans for free, but unfortunately, you cannot. Stupid. I think that's. It's the same as like someone said it earlier in the chat. I kind of missed it because there was a lot going on, but like someone was like, Astaroth's good because he's got the Master of Sanctity, but his Warlord trait isn't the Wise Orator, right? I think that was what someone said. If I'm getting it wrong, that's what the gist of it that I got. So Astaroth has the Master of Sanctity, which lets him do those two litanies every turn, but his Warlord trait should really just be the Wise Orator, right? So that we can cast them on 2s. So Astaroth's a kind of a cool unit. I do actually feel like he's overcosted, personally. But regardless, like, if he had Wise Orator, would that make him much more attractive? I think the answer is yes. Okay, so 39 for Emmanuel, and let's jump into today's last list. And this one is from Gitley. Okay, so I remember Gitley messaged me and said that he'd won a bunch of games with this list. So let's see how it goes. I am submitting my 2,000 point list for you to look over on the list review show. At the time of writing, I am 14-0 on it, so it is working well. But I'm sure there will be losses to come as I've now signed up for a league with a number of tournaments where I will be running this. I certainly don't think this is a perfect list, but so far it has proved effective in playing against up to my gameplay strength. To date, it's faced Death Guard with and without Oratory. Necrons, Chaos Soup, Ultramarines, Chaos Demons, and Blood Angels. The objective of the list is to be fast, durable, and reliable, offering a variety of different outputs, including low AP single damage melee, along with high AP multi-damage melee, with a small but not insignificant bit of range support. The list also looks to deny large areas of the board through both its mobility and screening, both defensively and aggressively. So next, I will present the list and follow up with a bit of explanation why I chose certain units and what their roles is. It's funny how you look at most other chapters and armies, look at 8-inch move as fast, while Blood Angels and White Scar look at them like they're snails. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, right? Okay, so this is a list that's apparently gone 14-0. Hey Kevin, how are you doing? Yeah, Sunday's going well. It's a good day. It's 1 year birthday for the channel, so that's pretty fun. Alright, so a list that's gone 14-0. So this should be interesting then. So he's got one relic, and we start with a patrol detachment, so -2 CP. So Captain on the Bike, Gift of Foresight, Hammer of Baal, and the Twin Bolt Gun. Okay, so just Gift of Foresight, Chapter Master, Hammer of Baal. Primaris Chaplain on the Bike, Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate, Benediction of Fury, Master of Sanctity, Litany of Hate, and he is the Wise Orator. We were just talking about how good that is and why you should take it. We then have the Infiltrator Squad as they come. We have Death Company with 2 Thunder Hammers and 6 models, so that's 4 Chainswords. We have Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields on 5, Double Lightning Claws on 4, and then the Sergeant with the Double Lightning Claw as well. Okay, so just mass amount of Lightning Claws from 10 models here, actually. I guess these could be combat squadded if you wanted them to be. We then have Eradicators ×2 with just the regular Melter Rifles. Eradicators for 135 points are still pretty effective, right? You know, like, it's a nice cheap amount of points for what they provide. I mean, there are some disadvantages to the Eradicators in that you can't split fire, and you know, if you advance, you lose half their damage, but still, good positioning and clever play. Eradicators 135 points. They're still very, very cheap Eradicators, and they work. You know, I was going to say they work really well because they're 45 points per model. If you have a Sangri Priest to res them, and that's what we're coming to in a second. If there was a 40k movie, who would you want to play Dante, Seth, and Mephiston? I way prefer 80s movies, James. Like, I guess I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and like, I just think that the old movies, like, I just don't think they make movies like they used to. So, Seth, I want to say, like, Seth needs to be someone like Stallone. You know, like, just a hardened, like, it's not Stallone now, Stallone in the 80s, right? You know? I can see the way Stallone speaks as being Seth. Mephiston and Dante, let me think. But yeah, I just prefer older movies. Like, if I find, like, on Netflix, like, a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that I've never watched, I'll be like, oh my god, yes, let's watch this. This will be better than any of the new movies that come out. Jason Statham. Who's Jason Statham playing? Interesting. Do you know what? I don't mind Jason Statham as Gabriel Seth. Maybe. Mark Strong would be good as Dante. I'm trying to think. Mephiston to... Because all these characters are quite buff and muscly, right? Like, would Schwarzenegger get someone? Henry Cavill as Dante would be awesome. I think Dante would need to be portrayed by somebody older. Henry Cavill, to me, feels like he's too young. Okay. Infiltrator Squad. Actually, I have no idea how Henry Cavill is. He's probably older than I am. So I'm like, he's too young. Henry Cavill is 30. Alright, no, he's older than me. He is older than me. Just a year older, I guess. Yeah. Oh, half a year. He's born in May. I'm born in September. Okay. Let me keep thinking. Librarian. Null Zone and Psychic Fortress. We know that's strong. Sangri Priest with Chief Apothecary and Selfless Healer. We also know that's strong. Infiltrator Squad. So we do have 2 squads of infiltrators, so this makes performing those actions, holding the objectives, a little bit easier. Then we have 7 Sangri Guard times 2, mainly swords and a good amount of axes. So yeah, it's a pretty punchy list, right? 2 Sangri Guard squads, a Death Company squad, a Vanguard Veteran squad, the Eradicators, the Infiltrators, and then basically 4 pretty powerful characters. A lot of investment on the characters, but everything here can do quite a lot of work. Yeah, actually it's like 570 points in characters, which is kind of crazy. 270 points in shooting, just really those Eradicators providing the fire support. Charlie Human as Mephiston could be interesting. Yeah, I mean, he is blonde. I mean, I guess that would work. Mr. Bean is Mephiston? No, let's not have Mr. Bean. Jeremy Irons should play Dante. Someone old like that might work, yeah. 2 people like Jeremy Irons. I was thinking Seth would be well played by the guy that did Bane. Oh, I know who you're talking. Tom Hardy, right? That's an interesting question. I don't know if we'd ever get it. Would it be better if it was played with real actors, or would it be better if it's CGI, though? That's the thing. And here's a question. Do you guys think that any of those named characters will appear in that new Angels of Death CGI thing that's coming out on Warhammer Plus, which I think is like next month? I was actually thinking, and I guess you guys can give me your opinion on this. We could do reaction videos to the new episodes of Angels of Death, or we could have episodes, or we could have live streams where we talk about the episodes of Angels of Death if people are getting it. This was the thing that I was saying last night, right? Sup, Gavin? How you doing? Because a lot of YouTube channels are getting shut down, right, from Games Workshop trying to protect their IP or trying to stop channels doing animations about Warhammer, But here's the thing, I think most people that enjoy Warhammer animation are gonna get Warhammer Plus. Like, there's a pretty cool model with it. Like, you're either invested in the hobby or you're not. So, I don't know. I think this was what I was saying last night, right? Like, I'm subscribed to about 7 different YouTube channels that put out Warhammer content, right? And I don't watch every video that they put out. I'm sure you guys don't watch every one of my videos. I mean, if you do, thank you so much. I love you. But like, I'm not expecting you guys to watch every video I put out. And I'm sure those other channels aren't expecting, you know, if you subscribe to, I don't know, like some of the ones I named last night, like Vanguard Tactics. Like, I don't watch every video or battle report by Vanguard Tactics. When I have time, I will watch them. If I don't have time, I won't watch them, right? And I'm sure that goes for everybody. But when Warhammer Plus comes out, I'm sure people will also subscribe to Warhammer Plus and will watch Warhammer Plus, but then if they come through to their computer room or wherever it is they watch YouTube on their phone, maybe they'll be like, oh, there's a video by Blood Angels Commander, I'll watch that as well. So I don't think it's a mutually exclusive thing, right? And I think that's the thing that maybe that's got everybody twisted, right? Like, it's fine to watch content on YouTube, it's fine to watch Warhammer Plus, if, you know... Like, I don't know why there had to be such a big argument about it. I'm going to watch both. I'll still watch the content creators I enjoy on YouTube, and I'll still watch Warhammer Plus. The advantage, I think, of Warhammer Plus is that I'll watch it on the living room television, I guess, and it's got like a high production value, so maybe maybe my wife might actually watch something Warhammer related with me, as opposed to normally if I try and put YouTube on in the living room, get told, like, can we not watch something decent or something like that, you know? So we'll see. Alright, so this army is run into a few separate blocks, but can be adaptable depending on the opponent. Block 1 is that the Master of Sanctity and Vanguard Veterans. These will take up position on a flank, with the Master of Sanctity being able to go to 4 damage, but also being able to provide rerolls of hits with a Litany of Hate. So one flank can contend with high wound, I guess he means contend with high wounds and armor, while also being able to churn through entries with Vanguard Veterans. Flank 2 is Chapter Master on the bike with the Death Company. They have a mixture of multiple damage and single damage options to balance that out. Chapter Master providing rerolls to hit with the Death Company. The only The exception to this with the Death Company to form Fury. On these occasions, the Chapter Master joins with the Centre Bot to create a battlefield swirl and break out with a unit of Sangri Guard when required. In the centre is the Sangri Priest with the Sangri Guard, so he can buff them to, like 2s to hit, and also put them in Assault Doctrine, and also give them a 6++ Feel No Pain, which I think is important on Sangri Guard. Sangri Guard do die pretty quickly. They're joined by the Librarian to give the 5+ Fortress. If necessary, remove key invulnerable saves with Null Zone. Null Zone is great with Sangri Guard, and that Sangri Guard don't normally have invulnerable save, so casting Null Zone around them generally loses nothing. It's also a good option to Angel Sacrifice if a big single model charges a Sangri Guard. I like to run the Sangri Guard together as they work well off each other with Unbridled Ardor, obviously 6-inch Heroic Intervention. The Eradicators are a great threat with the Melt Rifles as they have the option to run and shoot, which makes opponents really back off, and they're useful at holding objectives whilst impacting the game with ranged firepower. Finally, the 2 units of Infiltrators have won me games just by existing and screening my opponents from my deep strike behind me or anywhere else I don't want them to be. That's everything, and I look forward to your feedback. I unsubscribed from Warhammer Plus because of the IP stuff. See, I've actually read that, James. A few people are like, I'm now not going to support Warhammer Plus because of all the nonsense that they've done, which is crazy. Warhammer Plus was supposed to be such a positive thing when it first announced with the model and the price. I think it's like $50 and you get probably like a $25 model with it. Like I was surprised. I was like, wow, that's actually kind of cheap. Disney have just put Disney Plus up to like $7.99 a month or something, So it's Michael Keaton for Mephiston. Again, is Michael Keaton too old now for how old is Mephiston supposed to be? Warhammer Plus could not exist without GW protecting their IP. Yeah, I don't know. I think yes and no, right? Like, if they're producing... Like, there's fan films for Star Wars out there, Mark. There's a guy... there's actually a YouTuber called Star Wars Theory who's, makes, really high-quality fan films. He's got, 3 million subscribers. And Disney basically said, yeah, you can make them, but you can't monetize them. And that's fine, right? But I guess you can still support him on Patreon. You can still watch all his other videos on the channel, and they can all be monetized. So yeah, it's very strange. I don't want to get into it too much. I don't have anything to say. I just hope that I can continue to do my channel. That's my hope. I had just dabbled. I did make my first lore video a month ago. Am I not allowed to make lore videos now? I don't know. I guess we'll find out over the next few months what's going to happen. Okay, so yeah, let's think about this list. 2 Infiltrator Squads. So I think that comes in at a 7.5 for OBSEC. So it's a little bit of OBSEC, a little bit Deep Strike Denial. How many CP does he start with? We've got 7, and then I'm assuming that there was another detachment. 2 patrols. Alright, so this list has 7. Alright. For anti-horde, I guess he doesn't have a whole lot of anti-horde. Death Company potentially chopping some up. Vanguard Veterans chopping some up. Sangri Guard gunning some down. I think anti-horde is probably just an 8. Anti-monster vehicles. 14 Sangri Guard will kill a lot of vehicles. Eradicators, I guess, will kill some vehicles. Death Company and Vanguard Veterans with a ton of claws will also. So will the Captain, the Chaplain. How many 3 damage weapons have we got? We've got the Hammer of Baal. This Crozius, so that's 2. 2 more hammers from the Death Company, that's 4. 6 Melt Rifles from Eradicators, so that's 10. The Librarian gives us 11, potentially 12 with Smite. So about 12 3 damage weapons as well. I think you can carve up a lot of enemy monsters and armor, especially with what he's got here. Mobility-wise, I think mobility-wise is probably pretty similar. It's just going to be your Eradicators that aren't mobile. If you think of the Infiltrators, if they need to be mobile, they can guerrilla tactics. So probably about the same. 8. Maybe 8.5 because the Eradicators can advance and shoot. So with an advance roll, they move a minimum of 7. So I guess it's still kind of slow, but I mean, it could be 12 inches they move if they get a 6 on their advance roll. So I think mobility of like 8.5, and then we've got 2 units for performing actions. We don't have a fight last, but I feel like there's enough threats going forward. We can probably overload the enemy with charges, so the fight last might not be a huge issue. We do have an deny. We do have a decent amount of 3 damage weapons. I think the one thing that I potentially don't like is there's nothing crazy durable in this list. I mean, maybe the captain and the chaplain are quite durable, but I mean, I guess you have got 14 Sangri Guard with a priest. So I mean, although they're not going to be durable, you are going to survive some. You are going to be able to heal some. Here's to many more years of a Great Blood Angels Commander channel. Thank you, Adam. I hope so. I really hope so. Black Library profit margin is better than any of the rule sets or their models. I don't know a lot about Games Workshop profit margins and stuff, but I did think that if they produced high enough content on Warhammer Plus that got people excited and wanted to subscribe or whatever, like I don't think that the YouTubers are taking away from that, right? Like, I mean, like look at Disney. You know, like, so that guy's made a Star Wars fan film, but like they're putting out new Star Wars animations on Disney Plus. They put out that Mandalorian show. I'm pretty sure anyone that watched that fan film is also watching those new shows on Disney Plus, right? Like, I don't feel like YouTubers take away. If anything, it's a bit like they're the gateway drug, right? People find a YouTuber that's making cool content. Oh, he's making cool content about this thing. Maybe I want to find out more about the thing, you know? And at that point, maybe I want to spend some money, get my free trial of Disney Plus, and check out. Because I watched that. I watched the Star Wars cartoon. I think it's called Star Wars Rebels, and it was actually really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I probably enjoyed it more than some of the new Star Wars movies. And like that was, you know, like I saw like a video of someone on YouTube saying like, "Hey, if you've never watched Rebels, you should. It's really good." And I was like, "Okay," you know. And it's like, so it's. I don't think Warhammer Plus needed to have this whole negative thing. I wish it didn't, honestly. Specialization, I guess. I think we're going to come in with like an 8.5, and I think that makes this the strongest list of the week. But I think that in my meta, this list might actually struggle because this list. I don't know how it would deal with this Morgan Val bomb that I'm dealing with at the moment, and apparently I'm losing every game to it, right? And I don't think this list doesn't have enough firepower to deal with that Morgan Val bomb, and the fact that you can't go in there without fighting last and get heroically intervened by everything. So I think this is a strong list. But yeah, I don't know how it deals with that. Do you have the models to run it? Give it a try. I probably actually do have everything that you. Yeah, I mean, I could run this. I could run it. I was going to say I don't have as many Vanguard veterans with double lightning claws. All mine have storm shields, but. Apart from that, 42 points. So I guess, I mean, here's the thing, right? Gitley went 14-0 with it, which is arguably better than any of the lists I've made. The best list I've done 11-0 on one list, and I've done 8-0 on another list, and I guess probably can't play either of those lists as they were anymore because of chapter approved changing the points costs. But yeah, so I did basically, what was it, like 19 games and I had 1 defeat. No, 20 games and I had 1 defeat. So I had like 19-1 across 2 lists. But if a list's done 14-0, I guess my feedback on it is look at it closely and try and work out why it's doing so many wins. And I mean, I guess because I've started losing now, I started looking back at my list that did 11 wins in a row and be like, what was it doing? Why is it getting 11 wins in a row? And that was one of the things that I noticed was like, it's harder to score data now with just 1 squad of infiltrators. So this list having 2 squads of infiltrators straight away, or it doesn't have to be 2 infiltrators. It could be 1 infiltrator, 1 incursor. It could possibly 2 incursors. Infiltrators are just a little bit safer in the backfield than incursors. But yeah, so I think 14 Sangri Guard going up the middle of the board with the Priest and the Librarian to give them an invulnerable save is generally pretty scary. And obviously, the fact that you can null zone and then turn off Mortarian's invulnerable save and probably just kill them with... How many... Sangri Guard get 5 attacks, so potentially that's 80 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, so you're probably going to get like 75 hits or something, wounding on 4s. Yeah, you'll kill Mortarian in a single turn pretty easily doing that. There is something to be said about running like 2 7-man squads of Sangri Guard. Like we do know that they're one of our most damaging units. I could post a list of all my painted models, and you guys could come up with one. I mean, we'd have to. I don't know how we do that. Null Zone is dangerous. I've actually killed my own character before with Null Zone just by having him like right on the edge of 6 inches and not paying 100% attention, or failing a charge on a character that I was planning on charging out of Null Zone's reach. So I think this is a good list. And as I say, what I normally do after the stream is I'll post all these lists into the comment section of the stream. So if anyone wants to come back and look at the lists and copy them, or maybe not copy, maybe take influence from them is a better suggestion. And if you want to have your list reviewed in the future, head over to the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, click on the community tab. In this latest community tab, post your list in, and we will, we'll pick it up and we'll add it to the queue. We could put a list up. We could put some lists up with polls. That's maybe interesting. All right, I'm kind of going out of town tomorrow for a couple of days, but I will. I'll see if I can get everything that I've got painted in a good state together at some point, and yeah, we could do some sort of community event. That'd be quite fun. Possibly after this next tournament though, because I've got to get. I want to do well at this tournament. It's like 5 weeks from now, and I'm away for a few days this week, so I've got like 4 more games, I guess, if I just play on Monday nights to get ready for this tournament. So, thanks so much for hanging out today, guys. I appreciate all the support over the last year. It's pretty cool. The channel's 1 year old. Did you see the link I posted? I don't know if the link came up in the chat. It might be censored on the YouTube chat. So you could post it on Discord though, James, if you want to share it there. Yeah, so I will. So I guess keep an eye on the channel this week. We got some different videos. Like I've made a couple of videos that are going to come out this week, and probably I might not be live this week, but I will, as soon as the schedule's set again, I'll post up on Discord, or I'll post a community announcement on the channel. I really actually enjoyed hanging out painting last night. It feels like it's been too long. So yeah, last night paintings video was, or just painting in general last night was pretty fun. So hopefully we'll catch you guys for some more shows and painting very soon. Like I said, just a bit of a different schedule this week. So it is what it is. And I have got a pre-recorded game though that I played over on the Plastic Crackheads channel. I'm sure some of you guys know the Plastic Crackheads. So there'll be a live premiere of a game from the Plastic Crackheads, which actually features the list I was running that did 11 wins in a row. So, spoiler, it's going to be a win. But if you want to watch a win, and it's against Tyranids, because we don't play Tyranids very often, that will be coming out this week as well. So have a good rest of the weekend, guys. Thanks again for the support over this year. All the subscriptions, all the super chats, all the memberships, Patreons. You guys are so appreciated. Thank you. You've basically made my dream come true, and being able to represent the Blood Angels community, hopefully to a reasonable level. And hopefully we get to do it for a long, long time to come. It's... Oh, you sent it on Facebook? All right, we can check the Facebook group. Hold on, let's see if we can pull it up. Or did you send it in my DMs? No. Am I missing something? I hate how Facebook doesn't always put things in order of time. It just, like, this list here is never in order on Facebook. I don't really. It's like recent posts or new activity, but it's not in time. All right, I'm not seeing it, James, but just post it in the group and we'll catch up with it after. I got to bail, so I will catch you guys soon. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all, I'm sure, pretty soon. Sunday show next week might be out at a different time, so just keep an eye. You know, the streams will be scheduled probably like the day before. If you aren't always getting the updates about the streams, just make sure you click the little notification bubble underneath this video and change notifications from personalized to all, and then you'll get all the notifications when I go live and stuff. Have a great weekend, guys. Hope to see you all again soon. Thanks again for the support over year one, and by the blood are we made strong. Peace.